2005 to 2009, and so I saw it firsthand. It's a really interesting place. I don't think that it's possible to take the Finnish education system out of the context of the Finnish country, because it's a very different place to Australia. A little bit of history. Finland used to be part of the Swedish Empire, and then it was immediately part of the Russian Empire. It was never at all Finland in between those times. It was granted independence by Lenin when the Russian Revolution happened. So Finland never had its own, well, for a couple of months Finland actually had its own king, but they never really had a monarchy. It's not really that kind of history. And they're always sort of different people. So Finland is not considered to be Eastern Europe, Western Europe. It wasn't part of the USSR. It's not Scandinavia, despite what many people would say. Scandinavia is really this very culturally and linguistically well-defined place of Sweden, Norway and Denmark, but it is considered to be a Nordic country. But the background, the language, all those things are very different. The language especially is very unusual. It's a Uralic language, which means it's not part of the Indo-European language group, which includes languages as diverse as Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, German, French, Norwegian, English, Russian, any of the Slavic languages, all those things, even Hindi. It's not one of them. So it's really different. And I want to get to the language. It's important because of PISA. Literacy really is a big part of the PISA test. You can't give the same exam to different people in different countries. It's written in a different language. And the Finnish language really lends itself to literacy skills. It's fairly recently written, which means that it's 100% phonetic, down to the nearest letter. So if you spelt a word A-K-U, it would be pronounced up. But if it was A-A-K-U, it would be ARKU. And then two Ks, two As, it would be ARKU. So you can really, if you can hear a word in Finnish, you can spell it. And they don't even have a verb to spell because you never need to spell a word out letter by letter. You just say it and people can identify how it's spelled. That's one thing. So literacy becomes, a sort of different question for Finnish students. The other thing is the meanings. Finnish language doesn't borrow words phonetically from other languages, like, for example, Japanese. The word for bread in Japanese is borrowed actually from Portuguese, pan, like in French as well. But in Finnish, if you borrow a word, you actually translate it into little Finnish components. So if you were sitting the PISA test and you came across the word diary, you've never seen the word diary before, you might not be able to figure out what it meant. But in Finnish, it's just päiväkirja, day book. Dictionary is word book. Encyclopedia is knowledge word book. It's parallel, for example, is same direction. So these are words that might be very difficult for people in other language backgrounds, but actually turn out to be pretty straightforward for Finnish students. And there are two ways to gauge, there are two control groups, that is to gauge the effect of this on these outcomes. One is the 5% minority in Finland of Swedish speakers, so it's their second official language. And Swedish-speaking Finns are the high SES group in Finland, so they're more likely to own shares, manage companies, go to the opera, all that rich people stuff. But they do worse on the PISA test than Finnish-speaking Finns. That's one group. The second is Estonians. In the second most recent PISA test, Estonia was included. And Estonia doesn't have much in common with Finland in terms of its history. Unlike Finland, it was part of the USSR. Most of the different structures and systems, the way government works and everything is all different. But the language is very similar. It's, along with Hungary, one of the three principal Uralic language-speaking countries. And Estonia did remarkably well in the PISA test. And I suspect it's for similar reasons. I should add a disclaimer that these are just my opinions. This is by no means a fact. But the reason we keep talking about Finland all the time in education is because of these PISA results. And it's worth looking at what a PISA result really is and what it means.